So this is video summary number 2. This video's focused on legal versus ethical liability of businesses. And the biggest difference between the ethical versus legal is that a lot of things can be unethical, but they're not necessarily illegal. And so that's where a lot of the issues run in, because people think that they can get away with these unethical behaviors because people are allowing them to, because they're not illegal. This creates oftentimes a toxic workplace and creates bullying within the workplace, as people are scared to stand up for themselves or others, and if they know information that is wrong, they're not necessarily likely to stand up for it because it's being condoned by the leaders a lot of times. Just some statistics that were given in the video. 48% of employees were intentionally decreased their work ethic or their work effort, and then 47% decreased their time at work, 63% lost work time avoiding their offender, and 12% left because of it. So this is all when unethical behavior was being done. So all in all, basically says it decreases employee performance overall. Altogether, any kind of unethical behavior is gonna, and actions are gonna decrease the employee's performance. The speaker also talked about how executives spend 15% or 7 weeks in a year dealing with unethical conduct. 7 weeks, if you think about it, is a lot of time, especially in the business world, when that can be another big project or small project depending on the job and depending on what is needed and everything. So that is a big chunk of time that it can be used more wisely than having to deal with unethical conduct, and is very much something that can be avoided in the workplace. A majority of the unethical behavior is legal, like I said earlier. So that's where a lot of the issues happen. He used a really good quote from Eric Holder, who was a former #1 lawman. And he said, "The conduct that led to the financial crisis was unethical and irresponsible. And some of this behavior, while morally reprehensible, may not necessarily have been criminal." So even though they're doing these unethical behaviors, it's not criminal. So they can't get in trouble with the law for it. Another statistic is that less than 24 out of 14,000 cases that are brought actually are implemented from the senior leadership of organizations. So less than 24 of the cases are anything is being done at any type of level, which out of 14,000 is not a lot, unfortunately. And this really brings out the crisis of leadership and culture. It is the leader's job to create the culture, and by allowing a lot of this unethical behavior to happen, they're allowing the unhealthy culture and the unethical culture to continue and to happen in the first place. As the video said, legal liability is a test of smarts, which is basically, if you're getting caught for legal stuff, it's usually something small or just like something dumb, a dumb mistake that you make. Or it's just a common sense mistake that's like, oh, why did I do that? Whereas ethical liability is a test of your character. And so it really talked about needing leaders with character. So if you have that ethical liability, you have your character and you're sticking to your ethics and what is important to the company and making sure that culture is healthy. Unethical leadership, a lot of times it's allowing unethical conduct just to continue. You know about it, but you're too scared to say anything. So this includes not knowing, or even knowingly but not acting on it and not telling anyone. Unethical leadership breeds unethical cultures. So if there are unethical leaders within the company, the culture is not going to be ethical, because you're not implementing those ethics within your company or within your employees, and so you're not able to create that culture. And when the higher up people aren't ethical in what they do, a lot of times the people under them are going to follow in their footsteps because they think that that's how it's supposed to be done. A good example of unethical behavior is in college sports. We're always seeing on the news issues that are happening within the sports world and within colleges. A lot of times it's unethical behavior, and these are all patterns. They're not really isolated situations, and it's happening over a period of time, and there's multiple people. After one person comes out, there's multiple people coming out about these issues. Because these issues are tolerated, a lot of people are scared because they're tolerated at all levels. They're tolerated with administration and everything like that. And then coaches, and they're oftentimes kept because of their records, their championships, any profit that they're bringing in, and things like that. Some examples that he gave in the video were Penn State, Coach Sandusky, and then Ohio State and Coach Tressel. Another example would be Michigan State and Larry Nassar with the gymnastics team. This is often said to be a sport culture problem, but it's a higher ed culture problem because the administration at the colleges are often aware of this, and then it becomes a whole college, or as a college, they're all looking down, or they're turning their heads away from it and pretending like it's not happening and sweeping it under the rug. So a lot of times that can be scary when you're a student or anything and not standing up. So that's a lot of times the issue, and everyone's allowing this unethical behavior to occur because they know about it oftentimes, and it's repetitive actions that are happening, but no one's standing up to it or about it. He also talked about how the number one issue that leaders do with ethics, the number one thing not to do is to delegate ethics. That's never a good choice, and it's one of the biggest problems with unethical behavior occurring. He also talked about if you know, tell. So you're just as guilty as the next guy if you know and you don't say anything. A lot of the issue arises when there's no consequences for leaders, especially the higher up leaders. There are often times when the unethical behavior is occurring, but it's not illegal once again, and so nothing really happens to the leaders, and so this unethical behavior can continue and continues to occur. Some of the reasons why this continues to occur is the halo of reputations. People are willing to put people's reputations in front of their one mess up, so they're saying, oh, this person's a good person, he would never do that. And then there's performance metrics, which is if they're getting profits or championships or anything, they're more likely to just kind of sweep it under the rug and put those before ethics. And then hubris, which is people not admitting to their mistakes and taking responsibility for what they've done. Oftentimes, people think that the rules apply to them, but not rules apply to others, but not to them. So they think that they can do what they want and go around, get around the rules and stuff for themselves because they are who they are. But oftentimes that is not true, but it's allowed to happen once again because they are higher up. There's also a big need for accountability. This can help your employees to perform better when they're being held accountable, and unethical behavior is a lot less likely to occur when this accountability is being held and when your leaders are also being held accountable. By being held accountable, people are more likely to do what's right and stick to their ethics or the company's ethics. And then a key takeaway was definitely legal does not mean ethical. So even though you can do it, it doesn't mean you should do it. And then lastly, actions speak louder than words. So even though if you hear about something, say something. That's gonna do more than actions. If you're not standing up for someone or saying anything, if you're just trying to be a little nicer to the person or something, that's not helping them in that situation, and making sure that you're not just standing by, you're actually doing something about it and standing up for your employees and for your coworkers.